How are you all today? Well, that's just my chair, sorry. I was just getting it into place. It's Friday afternoon here, and I've had my hydrotherapy today. I was just having a cold drink. It's the first cold drink oh no, it's not. I had a lot of cold water at therapy. Haven't had a drink for a while. So, after I left therapy today, I had to give Mum a lift to her sewing group, and I thought I would just call into my friend's shop again because it's up the road. So I did that. I called in and I found a few little treasures, and she gifted me some treasures again. So I thought I'd share those with you. I had planned on, thought I'd walk from the shop up to the club, to the sewing class, but it is that hot today. I didn't want my doggo to get her feet burnt, and my legs decided to stop working anyway, so didn't end up walking very far. But I thought I'd share with you some of the things I found today in the shop. I've been looking for vintage textiles, so I found this piece. I'd assume this is probably from the 70s, maybe a bit earlier. It's I'm not sure what it is. It feels a little bit like a brushed cotton, actually. Not sure. I quite like it though. There's half a metre there. About half a metre, I'd say. So I think I paid 75 cents for that piece. It might be a bit dark, although the green one I bought, the 1970s flannel floral print that I bought a couple of weeks ago, it's on a black background. Didn't think I'd use it, and I have actually used it in the current project I'm working on. So that was interesting. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to ask, how are you all today? Have you slept? Have you eaten? Are you well? I like that one. I like that greeting. And I found this wool suiting over there too. I thought this would be very good for needlebooks. It's beautiful, pure wool. They had another one, a navy with a bottle green, but I thought it was too dark for what I'm going to be doing. These will be added to vintage doilies and things, so I thought this colour was a good colour. There was a beautiful woolen blanket there, but I didn't bring it home because it was a bit out of my price range. Hello Kathleen, how are you? Great to see you here. So this piece of wool suiting, there's 2 meters in that, so I'm quite pleased with that one. Very pleased actually. That would be very handy for some needlebooks. Instead of using doctor's flannel, it's a very similar type of textile. So yeah, really pleased with that one. Pure wool, 2 meters, $4.50. Then I found, mind you, I went over my budget today. I was not going to spend as much as I did, but it happens every time I walk in that shop because it's such a lovely shop and there's always so many goodies to be found. Now this is I can't remember what it's called. It's the same again, or very similar to that lingerie fabric of my grandmother's that I had. I don't think this one's as old. This is a more modern one, but it's a lovely fabric. It's cotton, but it's a little bit hairy again, almost like a little brushed cotton. It's lightweight. It's lightweight, but it's almost, it's a little bit, just a little bit fluffy. I don't know how to, can't remember the name of the fabric. It's been driving me nuts actually because I've been trying to remember what it's called for weeks now. I'm going to drop my bag. I was going to sit down for this, but if I sit down, I can't see well. And I found this one. I found quite a few beautiful vintage fabrics here today, but too many of them were like 1950s, 1960s. They were like a satin or a sateen or a chiffon. There were quite a few chiffons, and they're just not what I'm looking for. Beautiful prints though, very vintage. This is a cotton, and it's almost like a voile. Is it a voile? Is that the thin? See, it's quite thin, like muslin or something. A beautiful fabric. So I found that vintage one. I was hoping that would be good for the needle books and things. Maybe a little bit too lightweight. And I'd say there's at least 2 meters in that. Let's have a look. Oh goodness, there's a lot more than 2 meters. There's 4 meters in that piece. So that was a bargain, $4.50 for that, for 4 meters. So I'm very happy with that one too. Goodness. I don't measure them in the shop, I just pick them up for that price and think, you know, if I get something out of it, that's a bonus. Sometimes I will undo them to see if I can see, to identify what they are. See, sometimes there's some writing in the... I've lost that word again. The selvage. And then I found this one. I don't know if this is vintage. I can't really tell. It's a beautiful print, but it's almost like a damask. It's got a self-print in the background, like a paisley, like you'd get in a damask. But it's quite lightweight. There's nothing printed in the selvage. So I wasn't sure. At first I thought I'd found a Sanderson, but Sanderson seems to have it printed in the selvage. Even on the vintage piece, I've got a piece from the 50s and it's even got printed in the selvage that it's a Sanderson. But this is a lovely fabric. It's either a cotton or a cotton blend. It's got a little tiny bit of a shine to it, which makes me think it may not be cotton. But then again, damask does the same thing, doesn't it? And it's usually cotton or linen. So there we go, there's that one. I thought it would be good for needle books or for embroidering over. There's a lot here, so I can share it around. And there's 2 meters, or just over 2 meters in that piece as well. And that was $4.50. So that was a good find. It's happy with that. And just keep moving this bag around because I'm running out of room. I got some more crochet cotton because I've run out of this colour, would you believe? I've got a bucket full of crocheting cotton. So they're probably all, yeah, they are. They're all Coats. Yep. Coats, Mercer, chain Mercer crochet, 60 weight. Pretty sure they're all the same weight. That one could be a little bit heavier. No, they're all 60. So happy with that. I've actually been using this as a top stitch in some of my work lately. So that's why I've gone through it like I have. This bag was a bargain. There's what, 5 balls there for $2.50. Some of the colours were a bit more expensive. I got this. They advertised this as a mending kit. It's pure wool, obviously. Oh no, sorry, it's not. It's wool and nylon. It's Coats. Wool and nylon. So this is, I reckon, probably from the 80s maybe a bit earlier. 80% wool, 20% nylon for reinforcing and mending, but I bought this, look how it's braided, isn't that cool? I bought this for the weave stitch I've been doing on the collage, the vintage collage stitch. I've been using all my good Appletons and hand-dyed crewel wools. I've been going through them quite quickly, so when I saw that I thought, whoop, that'd be good. That was $2 for that. What else did I get? Oh, another little sandwich tray cloth. Can never get enough of these at the moment for these. It's a cute little one, not the most attractive flower design, but it's all been hand stitched and crocheted, so I've got to remember to hold on to these bags. I think that was $1 for that one. Take the bags back to the shop so they can reuse them. But another one of these, I pick these up every now and then when I see them. I was using them in my journals as pages and accents and that, but now I'm just collecting them as sort of older vintage pieces. Oh, I'm so glad you received it. I've sat down 3 times to write you an email, and I have written some each time, and then I get something comes up or I've got to go and help the dog or something, so I haven't finished it. I am responding to you, Kathleen. I've been a bit distracted. Yeah, I'll get back to you in the email. I'll give you what I want to say in the email. So I picked these up. They had a few more packets of these there. They're floss cards, obviously, and I'm always running out because so far I've got 3 boxes that I've got my threads in, and they're full. It's full. I need to get another box, and I've run out of thread cards again. I spent a few days last year cutting out cardboard floss cards, but it just takes forever, and the cardboard I was using was very heavy, so it was very hard on my hands. I got this, if you're wondering, there's some people walking down the street and they're talking loudly, so I'm trying to talk over the top of them so you can't hear what they're saying. I don't know what they're saying. I found this crocheted band. It's probably about 70 centimetres, I guess. But someone's hand crocheted this. It may have been in a tablecloth or going to, I don't know. So I thought that would be handy. Might make a nice tie or something on a needlebook, I'm not sure. But that one came home with me because it was $2. Then I found this whole roll. It says 1,000 pieces. Doesn't look like it's been opened. You can see it's still got the paper seal on it. And it simply says pure wool. It's just a pure wool label. So I thought that would come in handy. I can put that on some of the... Look at that. How cool is that? They're woven too. I was actually pricing labels this week with my Gladys and Maud on it, but they're not within the budget at the moment. But when I saw that, I thought that's pretty cool. I like that. And I often use those sorts of things in my journals too. I've got a bag of old labels that I stitch into things. And now this is a bit of a treasure, this one. It's a lace collar. I don't think I'll be cutting this up. I think I would really like to make myself something with this, a nice top of some kind, because I don't think it's damaged. It's got a bit of a stain, I just noticed. It's nothing major though. There's a bit of a mark there. But it is absolutely stunning. Well, there might be a little bit of damage there, but nothing, I don't think, that can't be repaired. It's almost more of a shawl than a collar, isn't it? It drops down, it's quite wide. That's the back. That's how deep it drops down at the back. And that's my hand. So it's quite deep at the back. And then it comes around the neck, over the shoulders, and this bit sits at the front. So it's very pretty. So that one came home with me, and that was $2. $2. I couldn't believe it. Absolutely beautiful. Just get folding that up again to put it back in that plastic bag so I don't get something on it, because I am a bit hopeless like that. So if you're listening, wondering, I was talking to Kathleen, I sent her some linen, some stamped linen pieces, and they've travelled from Australia to Canada, so that was exciting. I still get excited in this day and age that how we can communicate like we do to people overseas and send parcels, and it just completely fascinates me. I don't know why. I mean, it's nothing out of the ordinary these days, but I always think it's quite fabulous. Okay, now, I haven't been through this bag yet. I have an idea of what's in here, but this was what was gifted to me. Oops, I've been bitten by those bloody flies again. There's these, I was talking about them the other day. They just look like a little black bush fly, but they bite. They're bastards. They're not like, they're not march flies, they're not, or whatever else people call them. They're not march flies, they're tiny, they're little bitey, and their bite is worse than a march fly. And I react to them terribly. I get terrible bloody big itchy welts that last for over a week, and I feel dreadful. So anyway, I just got bitten by another of the buggers. This is what was gifted to me. I haven't had a look yet. I'll start with this bit because it looks like a piece of curtain, this one. It's a lovely colour though. It's a real coffee colour. It may have been coffee dyed actually, because it looks a little bit heavier on the bottom here in the colouring. It just smells like linen. But yeah, there's a piece of lace curtaining. Not something I'd normally go for, but it's quite nice, and I might even use that in something. What else is in this bag of tricks? This looks like it may have been the start of a bootie. Look at that. A crocheted bootie in silk. Someone's crocheted that. Stop grumbling, please. That's not nice. There's, I think, I haven't seen them, but I've noticed something out the front. I think there's people moving in next door. Oh, and then look at this. These are, wow, I thought they were, that one's crocheted, little crocheted medallion. That one's crocheted. That one's crocheted. But these guys, the center's crocheted, but these pieces here, I'm going to put my glasses back on. They're needle woven. So this ring all the way around the outside here is all needle woven, or it's not tattered. It's very unusual. I've never seen it before. So, and look, there's a whole heap of them. So that's very exciting. Look at that. That's a bigger one. Wow. That crochet in the middle is heavier than these smaller ones. Wow, that's awesome. They're rather cool. Very, very unusual. They'll be very handy. I'm sure I'll put those to good use. Wow, that was very cool. And here is some, let's coming off the card. I haven't seen one of these for years. This is what it is. Semco Rayon Crochet. 50 yards. Mum told me they used to call it silk, but obviously it's not silk. And I might just put that loose one in the back of there. When I came out to set up, I come around each day and water my plants and check them on the blender, and silly me, I've just split that bag open. And since yesterday, the bloody cabbage moths have annihilated my chocolate nasturtium. It's about 3 metres long, the nasturtium. It has one flower left, they've eaten all the others. And there's two leaves, and it is completely stripped back to the stems apart from that. The rotters, I'm so over them this season, they've stripped everything. Then I've got another stamped. I'll put these back in the bag while we're going, so. And look at the bag they came in. It's Chinese moon cakes. Isn't that cool? Look at that. Look at the dragon at the top. So that's what my little gifted treasures came in today. I've still got a couple here. There's stamped linen. There's some staining on it. Quite a bit of staining, but that's okay. But look at it. A little, what do you reckon, a Cocker Spaniel? It may have been, from the shape of it, I'm guessing it may have been an appliance cover of some kind, a kettle. It's not backed, but yeah, that's a woven lace that's been stitched on. It's not crocheted. But look at that, isn't it gorgeous? I've never seen one like that before. The style of these flowers make me think it might be more of a folk art sort of. But yeah, I like that one. That's another good one to add to the to-do list. Now this is the last treasure I've got, which I'm blown away by. This is linen. You can see it's got age spots on it, but look how it's tied. It's got this tape up here, which is almost threadbare. It's worn through a bit. But what it is, oh, I've never even thought of that. I've got one similar, Kathleen, a modern rayon, and it springs off. It won't hold the wrap, so I wouldn't have even thought of trying that. So thank you for telling me that. Yeah, the modern one it bounces off, and I cannot make bullions with it at all. It's dreadful. But this is Irish linen handkerchiefs in bulk. I assume that's how they were possibly displayed in the store, like this. Do you know how many times over the years I've tried to buy Irish linen hankies exactly like this so I can crochet the edges, and you either can't get them anymore or they're so overpriced it's ridiculous. Probably not overpriced, last time I looked, which was what, maybe 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. The ones I found, they were not good quality, not like this. They were very flimsy. They looked more like a cotton than a linen. And they started from, I think, $45 a hanky. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 9 there. So there's 19 vintage Irish linen hankies there, and they're an off-white colour, and these ones are white. They're not as in neat an order, they're not as organised, but these guys have still got their labels on them. Pure Irish linen. And what is there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, the label's fallen off that one. Oh no, yes. There's only a few with the labels left. 5, 6, 7, 8 there. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So what's that? 39 Irish linen hankies ready to be crocheted and embroidered. Isn't that amazing? And they were gifted to me, and I'm so grateful. And yeah, I never know what to say when I get things like that. I'm just stoked. So now I thought I'd share where I'm up to with my needle case. It's coming along slowly. I took it with me. I was dropped off to hydrotherapy an hour and a half early today, so I took this with me so I could stitch while I was waiting. And again, this isn't, I'm not dead set on whether this is how it's going to finish or not at this stage. I'm not sure. So I've sewn on this crochet edge since we were last here together. That pen line will come off. I've used a disappearing pen, but I wanted to try and keep my blanket stitch nice and neat, so I've drawn lines there to help me keep it in order. And yeah, I've just blanket stitched it on, so it's gone through to this side to hold it all together. So you can see we've blanket stitched all the way. Now this corner here was a natural corner in this piece of linen. I don't know what it's from. I'm assuming it's from a tablecloth. Someone gave it to me. It had already been cut off. Now some of it I still had a bit of linen attached by this much. Other areas it was cut right up to that crochet line. So that's another reason I've blanket stitched it in, to make sure it all holds together instead of pulling away. So this one was a natural corner. It must have been the corner on the tablecloth, I assume. These ones weren't, so I've had to try and fold the corners. They're a little bit bulky there. I have stitched them down, but there's a little bit of bulk there. I had trouble trying to get, I wanted to do it so they'd sit nice and flat, and if I press it, it probably will, but it was hard to get to fold it in a way that it wasn't going to be too bulky. See, this one's not sitting as flat. I'm sure when I press it, it will. I did make a mistake up here of just trying to gently pull it, and I tore the crochet, so I've had to do a repair job up here. And then this is where the two ends have met together, and I've just tried to stitch them together. And again, it's a little bit bulky, but I think if you're not looking for it, you don't see it. And again, this pen line will come out once I tidy it up. I've done a little bit more to the little pocket at the back. I don't know if you haven't seen the other videos, this little pocket was very worn. It was a little sandwich tray cloth, and I'm just looking for my niece has just added me to another group chat. I just got notified, which is cool. I like being included. This little sandwich tray cloth was very worn, and it had started to disintegrate quite a bit, and it was that worn that some of the flowers were missing. So on this particular piece, I've added the orange centre and the yellow centre inside that orange, and I've added the yellow centres and the orange rings around, but the rest is all original. The blue stitching around was original. Someone had done some that hem stitch. Was it Italian hem stitch? I can't remember now, sorry. But as I've been putting this together, it was wearing much faster than I was liking. I have lined it with some cotton, thinking that would help hold it together more. I have added that blue blanket stitch. That was not original, but I managed to almost match the thread that they had used, the colour from my stash. But last night, when I took all the basting stitch out of this last night, and it was just starting to really fray and wear around this edge. So I've ended up doing a reverse knotted blanket stitch around it, and then I've added a little button bar needle woven bar. So I'm hoping, I haven't even checked for a button yet, so I've done it backwards. Instead of measuring the size of the button and then adding the tab to fit the button, I've done the tab first, and that's usually what I do, and then I go looking for a button. When I get further along in the Needlebook, I did it the other way around and it didn't work. I measured the button and it didn't work. I've got a beautiful button in here, but I don't want to add it to this book. I'm saving it for something special. Look at this mother of pearl. It's carved, hand carved, and it's got a little brass shaft in there. It would be lovely, but I'm keeping that one for something else. I would have one here, I am sure. This is cute, but it's going to be too big. A little flower. I think I want one with a shaft, like that one down there. I can see one. Where did it go? That one's too big. There's another one. I need a pair of tweezers, or what are those other things called? The medical, they look like tweezers, but they're longer and starts with an S. I can't remember what they're called. I can see a couple, I just can't. Now I'm saying I think I need a shaft because because of the way I've made that loop, I want the button to sit under that. This one might be too big. It is, I can tell already. Oh, that's the one with the hand-painted flowers on it. I need to put a lacquer or something on that so those flowers don't wear off. Oh, you goose, I just saw one and lost it. That's a little one, but it looks like it's a bit worn out. It's all scratched. What's that one? That one looks like it's too dark. Oh, these are lovely buttons, but it's too dark. I do have lighter coloured ones. They're faceted, these ones. They've got a shank, a shank. and there's 3 sides on the top, and I know I have some in a pink tone. These are vintage, and I have some in a cream or off-white. There's a little, come on, out you come. Come on, little button. Okay. There's a cute little mother of pearl. Doesn't have any flash in it though. That's a good size, that one. What's that one? There's one of the faceted ones. So I think maybe one of those two, unless I can find a pink one. Oh, we're having a barbecue at my sister's tomorrow afternoon by the looks. That's why I've been added to the chat. Oh, we haven't done that for a while. She's got a pool too. Ooh. If it gets hot tomorrow, we can jump in the pool. I can tell you now, no matter how hot it gets, it will be too cold for me to get in the pool. I just saw one. No, I thought I saw a nice hand-cut one, but it's not what I thought it was. Anyway, so one of those, I thought that faceted one, that was what I was thinking from the get-go, but I think I like that one better on this. I like that one. I think that one's going to be the goer. So I'll leave that out. Where did I put? I had a pin. Geez, I'm absent-minded sometimes. Take pins out and then just drop them and lose them. I bet this is one without a point. It is. Don't do what I do. I saw what I did. I saw some cheap pins and thought, oh, that's a good price. Yeah, because they don't have points on them. Here I am trying to stick the pin in, and there's... Actually, this might not be... You know why it doesn't have any flash? I think it's plastic. So the plastic or glass, that pearl's peeling off. So that one won't be going in. It sounds like glass. Glass is okay, but I don't want to put a plastic one in. So we'll come back to that. Okay. So this is the cover of the Needlebook. Next I've got this little sandwich tray cloth. Now, what I've done here is fold it. How can I explain how I did that? If I can get that other one out, I can show you. Wrong bag, silly Billy. Try again. Where is it? Of course, it's right down the bottom under all the fabric. Okay, so what I did with this one, because it was too big for the book, it hung out of quite a lot more than this one does. It stuck out, you know, an inch or so on either end. So what I did was folded it in half. And then I folded that spine over like that in both directions. And then what I've done is open it up to the right side. I've stitched down there to hold that together. And then where this bit sticks out, because that was stitched together, instead of cutting that off, I've pressed that down and ended up tacking that down. I just caught that along that seam on the front side where I've stitched that. I've done it all by hand because I can control it better that way. So then I've ended up with, so it looks like that in the book on the right side. On the wrong side, yeah, no, that's right. No, it's not. I did it in reverse, sorry, because I'll show you why. So we want the right sides yeah, that's right. So this is the wrong side, you can see. When I open this up, this is the back side, the wrong side, okay? And we sew that seam down there. Then we open this up and flatten these bits out. Flatten out, it's not going to flatten out. I'm just going to try and fold that to get them to come out. Oh, you goose, I folded the wrong bit again. Okay, get in there. Right. Stitch that. I did a ladder stitch down there, down the centre. This is the wrong side facing where this ladder stitch goes. Flip it over, and I've folded it like this. So then I've stitched down the centre of that. I stitched from the other side and caught it on that seam that I'd sewn down there. So it then sits flat. Then I stitched a lining to this inside, to the wrong side. There's a lining in here. So when you then open it, you've got the right side facing as a page, and then the lining in there. So you've got none of the back work exposed. The other thing I was going to do, which I don't think I will now, on these pieces, come back to this one. So where these bits sit at the side, when I put it in my needle book, it sits in here like this, and I'll sew the seam down the centre there. But when you open the book, you can see these little bits sticking out. I was going to stitch another page on there, a piece of wool or another doily or something, but with all the other pieces I've got, it was too bulky. So I think I'm just going to stitch some bits of lace on there, because without it, it just looked, I'll show you the back one. It just looked a bit unfinished. That side doesn't look too bad, I think, because it's beside that. But the front one didn't look as good. So after all that, I've lined that with that brushed cotton fabric, that vintage print, probably 70s. Then I've put this strip of woven lace across the bottom, and I did all this by hand. I didn't put the wrong sides facing and stitch around it on the machine. I basted it all on, basted the lining in first, and left a bit of distance all the way around, and then I came and basted the lace on top, and then I went around and finger turned and needle turned the edge over all the way around and stitched it, needle stitched it on. it's quite laborious, but I find I get a much neater finish. If I did it on a machine, it wouldn't be as neat. My machine struggles to get through the layers, so I just do it by hand. I've just got a little label in here that I'm hoping to attach somewhere. It says handmade on one side and there's a little rainbow on the other. So that's just in there so I remember to do it. I haven't stitched this lace down because it will automatically get stitched down once I sew it all together, sew the spine in. My next page is unfinished as well. I've got this yellow check. Needs to sit up a bit higher. It'll all be positioned correctly when I put it together, obviously. Now, I just had this yellow check. It seemed to just all pull it all together. It's not as vintage as some of the other pieces, but the colour and the check just seem to help pull it together. I've done a blanket stitch all the way around in my own hand-dyed perlate. So I've coloured these, got two different greens I've coloured. You're probably not picking it up on the monitor. This one's more of a blue base. So I've coloured it to pick up the back here, and you know there's some blue in here, bluey grey, and this is more of a blue-green, this one. So I've blanket stitched around that, and then I had a spot here where I joined the blanket stitch that I thought was a bit untidy. So initially I just got this piece of Liberty. I was just going to put a little patch about that big just to cover that and, you know, give it a bit of interest. And that patch turned into a longer patch that I stitched on. And then I undid it, I unpicked it, because I then decided to line it. So I've stitched all these in by hand, very difficult, in the most difficult way possible. So I've stitched a lining in on that. And then I decided, well, why not make a tab? So I've put a vintage mother of pearl button here. I've done a hand stitched buttonhole. And then, you know, I don't know, I'm not impressed. You can see my green stitch there, and I'm not sure why that's happened. So I don't know if I'm going to cover that or just leave it. If I cover it, I don't know how I'll cover it. It's covered with the tab down. So I don't know what this tab can be used for, but I thought maybe you could put some cottons on it, or, you know, charms or something as you're working, something that you're using as you're working. We open that up and we've got a piece of wool, felted wool, for some needles or pins. And I just liked this fabric, this vintage 70s floral. That's another brush cotton or a flannelette, maybe flannel. So I've added that to the bottom. This is another hand-dyed perlate that I've done in pinks and orange and yellow. So I brought that in to try and, you know, help blend this colour in a bit. This piece of blanketing is quite thick. It has been felted. I didn't felt it. It was already like that. So it's a bit chunky. I've got a little handcrafted tag down here that Nairi gifted me that just seemed to fit. Now that's there because it's covering where I've stitched on that button. If you're wondering what that's doing, just sitting there like that. I probably should go and put the other pages in as I'm going. Now I've stitched this piece in. This is all buttonholed cut work. No, it's not sitting flat, and there's a very good reason for that. It looks like I did spend a lot of time stitching these eyelets in before I realised I needed something down here, and I'll show you why. Because there will be a pair of scissors going in here. So I've designed this so these will slip into there. Oh, sorry. I've got you upside down now. Good, I'm sorry you got cut off. Oh, goodness me. They're just going to have to wait a little bit, unfortunately, because I'm trying to do this for you guys. Right. So, this is all buttonhole stitched all the way around and cut work to make the lace effect. Done the little sheath here for the needle tip, because the scissor tip, because I realised I have purchased these scissors to go in this needle book, and I realised that because I had to trim it all back a little bit this direction to fit the piece of felt I had, the felt actually shrunk. I cut the felt to fit the cutter quilt, and then a few days later it had pulled in for some reason. So I've had to trim everything down a little bit. So I've made this little bit for the needle tip. However, and I think I will put a button up here somehow to hold that together. I don't like the back of this where you can see all the stitches, and I don't like this tab just hanging out the bottom. So I don't know whether to put a bit of lace or a medallion or something on there. I don't know what I'm going to do with this yet. I haven't decided. So the next page I've got is, this is all a bit screwed up at the moment, a piece of wool. It's not doctor's flannel. It's very similar. It's a very similar weight, but the weave is a lot more open and it's very soft. It's pure wool. It's beautiful, beautiful fabric. And I have done this is one of my hand-dyed Australian merino wools that I've done. And I've done a funny little knotted blanket stitch edging around there. This piece here, I'm not sure if it's going to go in, but this is the piece that I cut off the other side of this little pocket that I made off that sandwich tray. So it seemed a bit silly to just fold that under and not have it seen again, so I cut it off. And you can see here what I was talking about with the other one. This was a finished piece, I realised, because initially, before I soaked it, you could still see little fluffs of trace evidence of the stitches that were in there before. And the center is completely worn out of here from here, and this flower on this side was the same as this orange one. It's completely worn off as well, so it's probably from repeated pressing and starching. You can see how the edges have worn. That's how the other one went, and that's why I did that funny knotted blanket stitch around it to try and hold it all together. So yes, I don't know if that piece will go in yet or not. I still haven't decided. The next page I have is, and again, I'm still not decided on how I'm going to finish this. The next page I had in was this hanky. Now I'm tossing up whether to attach this lace to this edge, and it'll only be on this edge if I attach it. I'm still not convinced if I'm going to add that Suffolk puff there. And then we open it up to this vintage hanky. Now I have stitched where the hem stitch had been done around the handkerchief. I have stitched in those holes. I've folded the hanky in half and then down and then up again to create this pleat, for no other reason than I wanted to turn it into a pocket and I didn't want to cut the hanky. So I've put these pleats in. So once that's stitched in the center, we'll have pockets either side in the hanky. I think I will attach this vintage yo-yo because mirrors this yellow here, and when it's put together properly, I was noticing a bit of this peeking through before as well. Again, I'm a bit precious with my yo-yos because I don't have many, so that's the reason why I'm hesitant to add them. The next page I have is, I've missed something. We're going to have to go back. The next page is this one. Now, this was a doily, a napkin, a serviette, and I attached that to the back of this doily. So you can see all the basting stitches still in that, where I've put the two pieces of fabric together to sew them together. I stitched them together around the edge here. Then I came back and did this blanket stitch all the way around it in my hand dyed thread again. This is a different colour to that one I did on the gingham. This is more of a yellow based green, but it seems to just pull it all together. See, we've got blue and yellow greens in this actual embroidery. So I've done that blanket stitch all the way around, which mirrors the colours in the embroidery here. And then on the back, where I've attached the serviette, those greens are repeated again. There's some yellow in here repeated again. There's a little bit of orange and the red. So because I'd done the blanket stitch on the other side, on this side all you could see was the strokes, the back of the blanket stitch. That was just lines. Because I had used, again, those original holes that the crochet was put in, I used those holes. So on here I've gone on the top of that green, those green stitches, and done a little knotted, another reverse knotted blanket stitch, just to bring in the orange, balance it all out a bit. And I've still left the green exposed as well, so you can see the green and orange on the back. Now I've got to pop back here for a minute because I'd forgotten something. I'm planning on adding, I've already cut it, so it's going to be added now. I was in the middle of stitching that when I was called to see the physio. So this one will be stitched on here. It's a bit crooked at the moment because I haven't hemmed it yet. I'll be stitching that around here, and then the seam will go in the middle, and we'll have two little pockets on that as well. I'm not sure what's going to happen on the back side because those stitches will be visible. So not sure yet. So this is how she'll go here. And in the center here, I feel like bloody hell, how long have you guys been hanging down there like that? Sorry about that.